Have you ever felt that first tiny tickle in your throat and just wondered, what is actually going on inside my body right now? Well, today we're diving deep into that microscopic war your immune system wages every single day. And it's a battle fought on two very, very different fronts.
You know the feeling, right? That scratchy throat, the sudden wave of exhaustion. It's that universal signal that, yep, something's off. But under the surface, an incredibly sophisticated battle plan is kicking into high gear. And the key thing to realize is that it's not just one plan, it's a brilliant two-part strategy.
So here are our two main players. I want you to think of them like two totally different military units. First up, you've got your innate immunity. These are the fast, aggressive first responders. Then you have adaptive immunity, the slow, super methodical special forces. And I promise you, once you get this difference, it's going to change how you think about everything from a simple fever to how vaccines actually work.
Okay, let's start with the first team on the scene, innate immunity. This is your body's built-in, ready-for-anything security system. It's fast, it's furious, and it is your absolute first line of defense. This is the perfect way to think about it. Your innate system is like a fire alarm with sprinklers. It doesn't really care what started the fire, it just goes off. Sure, it's messy, that's the inflammation and fever you feel, but its number one job is to contain the threat, and most importantly, buy time for the real experts to show up.
So how does this first response actually play out? Well, it happens in a pretty clear four-step sequence. First, the physical barriers go up. Then, the first wave of cells gets activated. After that, the chemical alarms start blaring, and finally, the heavy-hitting reinforcements are called in. Let's break that down.
You know, long before any immune cells even get into the fight, your body has these incredible physical barricades. We're talking about things like your nasal hairs, that sticky mucus, and the sweeping motion of tiny little hairs called cilia. They're all working together to trap invaders before they can even set up shop. And that cough or sneeze, that's your body's last-ditch, forceful effort to physically throw them out.
But what happens when a pathogen gets past those barriers? Well, that's when the cellular first responders, who are always on patrol, jump into action. Now, don't worry about memorizing all the names. Just think about their jobs. You've got sentinels that immediately recognize and literally eat the invaders. You've got foot soldiers that swarm the area, and crucially, you have messengers that grab a piece of the enemy and run off to sound a much, much bigger alarm.
So how do all these different cells coordinate their attack? They use these chemical messengers called cytokines. Think of them as the blaring alarm bells of your immune system. And this, right here, is a huge aha moment. These cytokines are the direct cause of that fever, the fatigue, and that general achiness you feel. So get this, it's not actually the virus making you feel sick. It's the sound of your own body's alarm system going full blast.
This brings us to a really common question, one I bet you've thought about. We all know what a fever feels like, but what is it actually doing? Is it just the virus making you hot? It's a huge misconception, but the answer is a definite no. A fever is a weapon, and it's one that your own immune system is using on purpose. By turning up your body's thermostat, it makes it way harder for bacteria and viruses to multiply, and at the same time, it actually speeds up your own immune cells. So a fever isn't just a side effect of being sick, it's a powerful sign that your body is actively and effectively fighting back.
All right, so the first responders have bought us some precious time. They've contained the situation. Now, it's time to call in the specialists. The adaptive immune system. This is the precision tactical unit.
And this is where you see the biggest difference. If the innate system is like a sledgehammer, the adaptive system is a scalpel. It's your body's detective and intelligence unit. It takes a few days to get going because it's doing reconnaissance. It's learning the enemy's specific weaknesses. But here's its superpower. It never ever forgets a face.
This whole adaptive response unfolds in three main phases. First, the evidence that was gathered by the innate system gets presented. Then, the specialist T cells are activated. And finally, the ultimate weapons, antibodies, are mass-produced and deployed into the fight.
At the very heart of this targeted takedown are the T cells. Again, you don't need to know the numbers, just their roles. You've got the helper T cells. Think of them as the quarterbacks, coordinating the entire adaptive attack. And then you have the cytotoxic, or killer T cells. Their job is brutally simple. Find and destroy any of your own body's cells that have been hijacked and turned into virus-making factories. And that brings us to the ultimate weapon, antibodies. These are like tiny, custom-made, heat-seeking missiles. They are perfectly shaped to lock onto one specific invader, and one only.
They swarm the virus, neutralizing it so it can't infect new cells, and they tag it for complete destruction. This, right here, this whole process, is the entire goal of vaccination.
Okay, so now that we've met the two teams, let's put them head-to-head. Because by understanding their different timelines and their different jobs, you can actually start to figure out what your own body is telling you when you're sick.
This is where it all clicks. Look at how your own experience maps onto these two systems. That early fever that comes on within hours or days, the inflammation, that general, I feel awful feeling, that is 100% your innate immunity in action. But the reason you get better and then don't get sick from that exact same bug a year later, that incredible long-term protection, that's the memory of your adaptive system.
So this is all really fascinating biology, right? But why does understanding this complicated dance between your two immune systems actually matter for your health in the real world?
Here's a perfect practical question. We've all heard this before, right? You get a shot and they say it takes a couple of weeks to work. But why isn't it like an instant shield?
Well, the answer comes back entirely to our specialists, the adaptive system. A vaccine isn't an instant shield. It's a training exercise. It's like a boot camp for your body's special forces. It takes a couple of weeks to run all the drills, to identify the target, and to build up a huge standing army of memory cells and antibodies, all ready and waiting for the real invasion. And when you understand this balance, suddenly so many other things in medicine just click. It explains why antibiotics, which kill bacteria, are totally useless against a virus that's hiding inside your own cells. It explains why doctors sometimes use steroids to intentionally calm down a dangerously over-the-top innate response, what we call a cytokine storm. It really is all about managing this powerful, delicate dance.
There's a saying that sums this all up perfectly. Innate immunity buys time, but adaptive immunity wins the war. You absolutely need both. You need the first responders to hold the line, to buy that critical time, so that the specialists can gear up, secure the final victory, and most importantly, guarantee long-term peace.
It's a beautiful and an unbelievably powerful coordinated dance. But this delicate balance also brings up a pretty crucial question. This entire system is built on telling self from other. So what happens when that system makes a mistake? What happens when the assassins get confused and turn on the body itself? Well, that's a story for another time. For now, you've got a much deeper look into the incredible two-part strategy that keeps you safe. Thanks for diving in with me.